Warning: the following episode of That Mental Ginger Show contains strong language and adult themes.
Alright, troops.
Hello and welcome to That Mental Ginger Show with your host Andrew Durning, aka The Mental Ginger. Well, my 5 faithful followers, I have a feeling that me and this guest are going to get on like a house on fire. What? Because if you can see by his background of his office, it screams everything Nerdvana for me. And not just because of that, because he's also the host of the funny science fiction podcast, and I'm a massive sci-fi fan, so we are definitely going to be rocking and rolling on this one. And he's also the host of the Focused on Forward podcast, and it is Tim Beisiegel. Tim, how are you, my friend? It's such a pleasure to have you on.
I'm doing very well. Excuse me. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure. And like I said, the second I saw the office background, I was like, this is my guy. This is going to go so well. I sense the right presence in the force.
Oh, good choice. Yeah, I used to have a lot of this at the house, but at a certain point, the wife started kicking me out.
It's something to do with wives, isn't it?
It's You know what? She's cute, but she doesn't really care for the sci-fi and the nerd like I do. I have more Funko Pops at home. It's just this is the majority of my collection. So.
Yeah, well, I managed to get my wife into the MCU, and the Arrowverse for a time, before we had our kids and life went to crap. I'm only kidding. I love my boys. Well, I understand. I just get to watch different things like Muppet Babies.
Exactly.
Well, and
exactly,
and that new series is fire, by the way. Well, I love it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have 3 kids of my own. My co-host on Funny Science Fiction, she's got a 3-year-old. Her and I actually host a 3rd show together that I'm on called Pop Culture Addicts.
There we go.
There's the shameless self-promotion.
But where'd you go to get all that kind of stuff like printed? Because I've been trying to look for things like that, and it's what I do. It's like trying to find a fart in a jacuzzi. I just can't figure it out.
No, that's what I do for a living. I do shirts and logos and stuff like that, and I sell my silly designs online. I own a company called River City Tees.
Nice.
Currently, I have about 715 designs online.
Wow.
So, anything from just simple print to nerd designs, nerd merch, Star Wars, Star Trek, MCU related, whatever I can legally or sometimes illegally get away with till they shut me down.
Oh, after this, we are definitely having a very positive conversation. I'm already so sold on this. This is brilliant. See, the power of podcast, you connect with people from all over the world.
That's the beauty of podcasting, my friend.
Yep. So the first thing I always like to ask my guests is to get him or her to tell the audience their origin story. Because if there's one thing we all have in common, especially if you're watching the MCU, we have an origin story. Mm-hmm. So, Tim Beisiegel, I just love the way your name sounds, so I'm just going to keep saying it. Please tell my 5 faithful followers your origin story.
Well, 6 now, because you have to include me. So 6 moving forward.
Yes, we can update it.
You're already growing in your audience. So I am as I like to call myself, a chubby, happy 44-year-old father of 3. I was born in 1976 here in Michigan in the United States. Mm-hmm. And my mother and father were destined to not survive their marriage. He struggled with alcohol issues. There was some physical violence in the home. They ended up splitting, and I think they were divorced by the time I was 6. Which, as a 6-year-old, when you have brothers and sisters, you don't understand. At 6, you don't understand that your brothers and sisters have a different mother than you have. You're just all in the same house. You're a kid, and you just see. So when my mother and my natural father split and separated, he moved to California with all my siblings. My mother, of course, wasn't letting me out of her sight, and it was hard for me to understand why my father didn't want me.
Wow.
And that was a very hard thing for me to understand for years.
Hmm.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, even at 44 years of age, 30 some odd years later, you know, it still kind of messes with your head a little bit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the issues that you start dealing with, feelings of self-worth and devaluing yourself as you go through life, and what you're dealing with and how you're dealing with it and how you perceive the things around you,
Mm-hmm.
are shaped by those formative years. And those formative years told me that I was not important, and that I was not as valued to my father as I thought I was. And that was a very hard blow for me to take, especially because I held him at such a high level in my head. You know, he was my rock star. He was the guy that even after my mom and dad were separated, and I knew they were divorced, I kept expecting for like him to pull up in front of my house and someday and come take me back to California with him, to move across the country. And I kept waiting for that. That never happened, of course. I talked to him when I was about 13 years of age, because my mother had remarried to a very nice man. His name is Rick. He was my stepdad. At 13, Rick asked me if he could adopt me.
Oh.
And so I'm very pro-adoption, by the way. Adoption is the only time in life that you have a piece of paper that says somebody wanted you.
That's
and yeah.
Well,
and
there's a marriage certificate. Sometimes that counts, but I mean,
that just means you got taken in by somebody as a lost soul.
I was going to say maybe it's more finite, especially with the rising divorce rate, but I don't want to touch on that subject because of what you just said.
That's a whole nother topic, but
yeah, definitely.
But,
so you were adopted, well,
Yeah.
officially at 13, and then you had the conversation with your natural father. So how did that go?
Not well. He wanted to make it my decision, and I wanted him as my father to say, I was expecting him to be like, no, you are my son, because at the time, by birth, my last name is Riley. A wee bit Irish. But I was expecting him to say, no, that you are my son, your name is Riley, it's going to stay Riley. And that's what I was expecting. That's not what happened. I was 13 years old. He said, well, you're a big enough boy. You're what, 10 years old? You can make that decision now. He didn't even know how old I was.
Wow.
And that was like a knife right into my chest. That hurt so bad. And that was back in the day when you could actually slam the phone down. Not like today when you can just aggressively hit the end button.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like it doesn't have the same impact, does it?
No, it's so disappointing when, especially when you grow up used to being able to slam a physical phone.
Yeah. I know some people just went the opposite way and just flung the phone off the wall. At least that's what I did. At least that's what I did a couple of times.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. No, I was one time in my younger years in life where I got my get out of jail free card for using the F-bomb in front of my mother. I told him, what he could go do with himself. And I slammed the phone down, and I didn't talk to him again till I was 21, 22.
In fairness, I'm surprised that you even talked to him.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I didn't call to talk to him. At 21 years of age, it had been 15 years since I had seen or talked to my siblings.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to my siblings. I had very good memories of my siblings, and at that time I was told I was no longer a Riley, and I was no longer part of the family.
Wow.
And so again, here I am. I'm already struggling with some self-worth issues, some devaluing thoughts and things. And then there was that.
Forget the knife through the chest. That's like when Thor just hit Thanos straight there with Infinity War. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, and then so you get that with the dad, and then when Thor pushes it in, well, that's like the next bit with the siblings.
Yeah. Man. So so again, I hung the phone up on him, told him where else he could go, and what else he could do. And then I didn't have any contact again with him till I was almost 35. And by this time, I had kind of resorted to one of those online sites for trying to find people, and which, by the way, those are rubbish. They don't work. They're horrible. So if anybody's listening and is considering that, please don't waste your money. It's their every one of my siblings. I could find their their name on the website. But you're supposed to sign up and it's supposed to give you like unlimited information. It was so limited of information because of, it was old information. It was like places they used to live and places they used to go and people they used to be, a couple years ago, but there was no current information. The only way I got contact with them is I had to sign up for Twitter. This is how I got on Twitter. I signed up for Twitter so that I could message this one woman whose name kept showing up on the list. I had no clue who it was. And considering what most dudes do to random women on the internet, the type of images and pictures and messages they send, I am surprised, A, that she even opened it, and B, that she even responded.
I have no idea what pictures you're talking about, my friend.
Exactly.
I live a very sheltered life. Yes,
exactly.
I'm like a ginger Amish man.
Except
I'm using technology.
It's all sunshine and rainbows. That's all they're sending.
Definitely.
But so I'm still surprised that she even responded, to be honest with you. But come to find out, she was one of my brother's first wives. Wow. And she was able to put me in contact with all my siblings. And then next thing I know, I'm talking with them and I'm kind of finding out there was a surprise sibling in there and that I didn't know about. And then there was another surprise sibling, and then there was another surprise sibling, and come to find out, I'm the baby of 8.
Wow.
My father was a very potent man, apparently.
He didn't understand contraception, did he?
No, apparently not. No.
I've made this joke probably 3 times in the last few episodes, so I'm just going to make it again. Does your dad not know the words pull out?
No. Well,
there we go. I just had
not even close.
Yeah, just because it was adding into the numbers, it's probably an inappropriate joke to make considering the circumstances, but I had to make it.
It's not a joke I haven't made myself, so no worries. I look at it this way, it's kind of a crap sandwich, some of the things that life hands to you, but you also have to find a way to have a sense of humor about it. Yeah. Because if you're not going to joke about it, you're not going to have a sense of humor about it. Life is going to kill you one way or another. You might as well have fun in the meantime.
Yeah.
There's a song, but I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, by the way.
Nice.
And there's a song called I Am Mine. And there's a lyric in the song that says, I know that I was born and I know that I'll die, but the in-between is mine. And I love that lyric because it's very powerful. And it's also how I live my life. I know that I was born. I know that I'm going to die at some point, but the in-between is mine, and I'm going to make the most of it the best I can.
Definitely, my friend, definitely. And you're doing so well with it from what I've seen already, and from the stuff that you had to go through to how relatively mentally stable you are. I am impressed, man. But Michigan clearly does the good stuff for you.
So and the thing is, we haven't even gotten to why I even got into podcasting is because of other issues that happened. So
well, we can keep this train going. Let's keep this party rolling, buddy. Tell me everything.
Yeah. So let's go. We'll jump to mid-30s. Right at the same time that I was getting in contact with my father, I developed a heart condition. And come to find out, on my natural father's side of the family, we apparently have heart issues and weak knees. So I got both. Yay me. Come to find out, I had a condition called atrial fibrillation, which for some folks is not a challenging condition. It's not a deadly condition. It just means that every once in a while their heart beats out of rhythm. It just, I had a very aggressive form of atrial fibrillation. I went from it not happening, but maybe once every couple of weeks, to at the end before my procedure to correct it, it was happening 15 to 20 times a day, going on for anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour at a clip. So my heart was almost 24 hours a day, almost constantly out of sinus rhythm, which made it hard to walk from one end of the house to the other. I always felt like I was running a marathon. I was exhausted all the time. I had no energy. I was swamped. And I ended up having to stop working. And that's, and then, the struggle there is that, I went from working 60 to 80 hours a week. And I had this, and not that I'm a big macho guy or anything along those lines, but there is a little bit of a sense of pride as a man that you're providing for your family and that you're taking care of things. And I'm being a good dad. I'm being all the things to my boys that my father never was for me. And that all kind of played into my head. And then there I was sitting in my recliner because I couldn't move, and my wife had to pick up more hours at work. And so there was this is very emasculating to go from feeling like you were providing for your family to struggling to literally walk from one end of the house to the other. We have a 2,500 square foot home, and walking from one end of the house to the other, our ranch style home.
Yeah.
I get to the other side and I would just collapse into my chair because I was dead. I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well at night because I couldn't. My heart was, and that's that year, the last year before the procedure, I had my heart chemically stopped and restarted 6 times. Wow. Technically I was dead on the table 6 times that year because they stop your heart. They put the paddles on your chest. They restart you with the. So
I had to do a Keanu Reeves whoa there, but yeah, it's totally justified. Totally justified.
And so that affected my mental stability and how I viewed myself and how I viewed things moving forward.
Yeah.
So I had a procedure that turned out well. Fast forward a couple years, about 6-7 years, and then my daughter comes down sick. We thought she had the flu. Yeah. It was not the flu. She ended up having a condition called Guillain-Barre Syndrome. We took her to the hospital thinking that we were going to get her an IV of fluids, take her home, typical things you do for a flu when somebody has an aggressive flu, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. But like I said, it wasn't the flu. Guillain-Barre is a autoimmune disease that attacks the central nervous system of the body. Now, for some people who have Guillain-Barre, they can be in the hospital 1 to 2 weeks and they move along in life. Kendall was in the hospital for 97 days. For 95 of those 97 days of the hospital, I was in the hospital with her, by her side. We almost lost her twice. We had to have a couple aggressive procedures to save her life. She was on breathing support. She had a feeding tube. She had to have a lung punctured to eliminate harmful fluid that had gathered in her lungs.
My heart is absolutely breaking for you, man.
Yeah, it was rough.
Especially being a dad myself, and my son had to go into hospital twice for he had a hernia problem, and then it came back.
Okay.
Then it came back like a year later. And they're two things that are not easily fixed because he had to go back in again, the fuckers, but at the same time, but I'm so proud of you and how well that you've managed to hold together. You're actually an amazing human being already, man. Fuck me sideways with a wooden spoon. That's beautiful, Matt. Dude, only one other person's made me cry in this podcast. You're the second. Fucking hell, man.
Well, sorry about that. That wasn't the intent.
No, not at all. Not at all, man. I am so honored that you felt comfortable sharing that with me, man. That's rough shit to talk about. Definitely.
It is.
That is hard stuff to do.
And
I'm so impressed that you're able to say it without being a wreck that I'm in.
Well, here's the thing. When we came out of the hospital, my head was a bag of cats, and I went into counseling a couple months later because I could not take it anymore. I had one nightmare. And honestly, every night when I went to sleep, I saw the same dream every night, every night, every night, every night. It was one of the instances where we almost lost her, and I just, that replayed in my head every time.
Yeah, of course, man. What, it's a trauma. What,
Yeah.
It's a massive trauma. What,
That's the thing.
if
You
you
don't
got out,
understand that.
yeah, if you got out of that and you didn't need therapy, I would be more
Right.
worried.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. I came out of that though, again, thinking I was the big man, the big stud, don't need therapy. I can handle this. I got this.
Yeah.
I'm a guy. I'll be fine. I wasn't fine. I didn't realize how much I wasn't fine.
Yeah.
Until, a couple months later when I couldn't sleep, I'm sitting at my desk and, working from home at this point, sitting at my desk and just bawling. I didn't know why. I couldn't stop the tears. There was nothing that I could do to physically. It was like the worst of the ugly cries that you could ever see. I had hit the breaking point and I was done.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and started talking with a counselor, and her advice was that she wanted me to start, writing, that I should write it. And I laughed at her. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a writer, so that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, however, I am Irish and I don't have a problem talking. We talk like the devil.
I'm so glad you said talking and not drinking.
Well, there's that too.
I would not have judged, considering what you've told me, I would not have judged in the slightest if you had hit that ball. Not in the slightest.
So yeah, actually, I when we came home from the hospital, one of my buddies bought me a bottle of bourbon, and I really enjoy my bourbon and my Irish whiskey. However, I don't think I touched it for a good 6 to 7 months because I wanted to be sure that why I was drinking it, that I wasn't drinking it as a form of escape, that I was drinking it because it was an enjoyable relaxation thing, and I wanted to make sure in my brain that there was a difference there, that I wasn't going to fall on that as a crutch, because that was, with family history, that was a little bit of a worry for me.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's how I came about starting with Focused on Forward. That was my first podcast. As I talked to another friend of mine, I said, my therapist wants me to talk to somebody about this. And she wanted me to do a video blog of just me sitting there and talking. I'm like, to me, that sounded boring, to sit there and just, sit here in a video. Today, I went to the store and I got some chips. It sounded boring to me. I couldn't do it. So he's like, well, do a podcast where you talk. And so that's how Focused on Forward started, because I started talking to other people and what they were doing and how they were overcoming the crap that's happened to them in their lives, and honestly, it was probably the best thing I did for myself, because I started talking to some people who have, not that you ever want to downplay what you've been through and downplay your own traumas and things. And
yeah,
but it gives you such a sense of strength to know that there are other people who have gone through some really tough situations, and you look at what they've done and you go, I didn't have cancer. I didn't have this happen to me. I didn't have that. And if they can do that, I can do this. And it was more empowering to me than anything.
Yeah.
And it's not that I was discrediting what I was going through, but I learned how to give myself the credit that I needed.
It kind of humbles you as well, doesn't it? Because
absolutely,
someone's sharing a story, like, for example, you're sharing a story with me, and I've not been through even a quarter of the crap that you've been through. But getting the fact that you're able to say it to me, and we're able to like connect about it, it really does. It really helps you focus on the good things in your life. Is that how you felt with the guests that were speaking to you?
Oh, absolutely. It took me a little bit to get to that point, to understand the importance of the stories that other people were sharing. Because at first I was like, my very first episode that I did a Focused on Forward is just me talking for 20 something minutes and explaining in a little more detail the story of the hospitalization of Kendall.
Yeah.
And I think I paused that recording a couple different times because I broke down a couple times.
Again, if you didn't, I would have been worried.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm that happened in 2019. It's we're almost to 2022. I'm a couple of years removed from it, and I can't say that it doesn't still affect me. Clearly it does. I still have issue with it.
Yeah.
I don't, like, the last 2 years, I haven't even looked at my Facebook memories for anywhere between April and July. I can't. I can't look at the pictures of her being in the hospital. It crushes me.
Yeah.
To see some of those pictures.
Yeah.
But I've talked with enough other people, and I've shared my story a couple times, and I've had the opportunity to talk to some people, on or off camera, where it's become easier for me to relate my story, because this is what I've gained out of it. And I got this from, there are two things that I gained from doing Focused on Forward. The first was to have an attitude of gratitude. I talked with a gentleman who actually became a good friend of mine. His son, or daughter rather, his daughter was born premature. And she spent the first 4 months of her life in the ICU.
Been there.
And spent the first 4 months of her life in the NICU. And that's, we were in the ICU with Kendall for 33 days. I can't even imagine being there for another 90 on top of that. That just took my breath away, to hear him tell the story. But he talked about having an attitude of gratitude, because he said in order to keep his mind fresh, in order to keep his spirits up and his wife's spirits up, they continuously tried to find things that they could be grateful for. Each day when his daughter would gain weight, or she would take a positive step for this or a positive step for that, they would find things to be grateful for, to show that attitude of gratitude. And I looked at his story, and not that you look at the stories and you compare notes and all these things, but in your mind, you still kind of do. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, if Josh and his family could go through these things, we went through these things, they were able to find, okay, so let's find, things, I call them also the silver linings. Where's the silver linings? Here's the good things that we can find out of these, this horrible situation. And so we started doing that. And that really did help. I mean, it doesn't take the sting away. It doesn't remove the hurt in your heart when you think about the things that your children had to go through. It doesn't remove the sting of your own issues with your father, your natural father, all these things in life that you've gone through. But there are other things that I can find, like with my natural father. It's a crap sandwich. The silver lining is there's a man in my life who's my dad. He's not my father. He's my dad. There's a difference between being a father and a dad.
Yeah.
My dad is Rick. My father is Mike. Okay. But Rick raised me. Rick has been there. He's for all three of my children. He's been there for their births. He's been there for my two oldest boys' graduations. He was there for my oldest boy to get married. All these different things in life. He's been dad. He's been grandpa. He has shown me how to be a man and how to be respectful to women, how to treat how he treats my mother properly was a good example for me, and how to treat my wife. Excuse me. And so that's the silver lining out of that. Yeah, it sucked. And there's still things that I deal with even now that I'm working with. And I recently just went back into counseling because there's been some other situations that came up with my natural father with his health, and going down and visiting with him. And there's a whole thing going on there. That's a whole nother story. But because of his health and trying to help out, I have some siblings down in that area. So they're not feeling, I don't want them to ever feel like they had to do this all on their own. So I'm more going for, I think, for them. I'm not entirely sure why I'm going down. I'll be honest with you.
That's why the counsel's there, man.
Exactly. So, and that's one of the things we talked about actually in my past session with her on just this past Monday was, it was kind of feathering that out, trying to figure it all out and what I'm doing and why. And but again, the attitude of gratitude is that I have a silver lining there. So I have my family, I have my dad and my mom to fall back on, and all these things. And even with Kendall's situation, so Guillain-Barre is something that she's never going to not have. She's going to have that the rest of her life. She has out of 5 days of school this week, she went to 2 because she had such bad nerve and muscle pain that she just couldn't make it a couple days, and that's all there is to it. But you know what, we've learned, we used to kind of hold her back from doing that, like, oh, if we do this today, she's going to hurt tomorrow. We stopped doing that, because when she's having a good day, I want her to have the best day. I want her to, if you feel like, I told her, I said, sweetheart, if you feel like running and jumping and doing spinning heel kicks, whatever it is that you crazy kids are doing, do it. I want you to be happy. If that means the next day we sit down and we watch a couple extra episodes of The Office or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, then guess what? That's what we're going to do,
Good choices. Good choices.
Yeah. And so, that's kind of where we're at in life. That's the silver lining of things, is that, yeah, there's some crap sandwiches that are being fed to us, but, it's also in how you look at it. Yeah, there's bad things that are going to come, but how do you adjust to them? How do you make it so that you make it work for you the best you can? And it's a process. It's not easy. It's not something that you just wake up one morning and you're like, you know what, everything's going to be fine now, because that only happens in movies. So,
man, not only are you an amazing husband, an amazing father, you're just an amazing human being.
No, thank you.
But that story would have been tough for anybody to tell. Wouldn't matter if you were like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that would have been for most people talking about that would be catastrophic. Like, the fact you were able to hold it together and tell me all that, I'm blown away, absolutely blown away, and really grateful that you felt comfortable enough to share that with me. But thank you so much, Tim.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
And so we're gonna move on to hopefully some happier things, and I want you to talk about your sci-fi podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, I started the sci-fi podcast because Josh's dad, like I said, he became a good buddy of mine. Josh's dad is a sci-fi author. And so, yeah, so matter of fact, this is one of his books right here called Custodians of the Cosmos, written by Drayton Allen. And we use that as the reason why it's right here is that's one of the props we use on our show.
Nice one.
So it's always right here, right within arm's reach. And then, so he wrote that book, and he was given advice to, hey, instead of promoting the book, promote the genre, because then you can promote your book inside of the genre.
Yeah.
So he started a Facebook group called, of course, Funny Science Fiction.
Hey.
Which right now, last I looked, our Facebook group is up to 177,000 members.
Holy,
it's massive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive.
That is mental, man. That's brilliant. Congrats.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it has, if you like memes and you like sci-fi memes and, funny things like that, it's a great group for that, because we have heavy participation. Yeah. Thousands of posts every day. Yeah, it's a good time.
Wow.
And we try to keep it pretty family friendly, so anybody can look at the page, anybody can appreciate the page. It's for the American rating systems, we call it PG. So up to so very family friendly. And so he started this page. And I interviewed his son, Josh, about his daughter and his family situation. And after he got done listening to it, he goes, because I was already helping him on the page as an admin and moderator.
Yeah.
He just said, hey, what do you think about starting a podcast for our group? And so the infamous joke has been, well, I got the mic, let's do this. You know, because
Yeah.
I'm a big sci-fi nerd. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I've never been the deep dive guy. I didn't care as much about the lore. I've just, if you listen to any of our episodes, you'll hear me say that Star Wars is like my marriage. It's been there for me in good and bad, and sickness and in health. Rich for richer, for poorer, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, if I stayed home from school, the old VHS days, I would take one out, put the next one in, the original trilogy.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So we started the podcast, and actually this morning we released our 59th episode with a voice actor named Bob Bergen, who is the voice of Porky Pig.
Yes.
But he's also the voice of Lama Su from Star Wars Clone Wars and Bad Batch.
Oh man. What's that like interview like those type of guests? I mean, I've been fortunate with the guests that I've got. Like I've had like guys who've worked with like Lawrence Fishburne, like Nicolas Cage, and all those kind of guys, and hopefully I'll get to maybe that level later on. But do you not just get like totally like starstruck by it and just be like, wow, you're coming on my podcast to talk?
Yeah, you know what? There's been a I'm always excited to talk to our guests. I don't want to make it sound like I'm like, oh god, well, we're going to talk to this person. I'm always excited because I do all our booking. So if it's somebody on the show, there's a reason why I wanted them on the show. I wanted to talk to them about something they've done.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's been a couple though that we've had on the show where I am legitimately like, hi, how's it going? And I'm all kinds of 12 years old when I'm talking to them. Like this week is Bob Bergen. Last week we had on Rob Paulson.
Wow.
So if your guests aren't familiar with Rob Paulson, he's the voice of Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, Yakko Warner from Animaniacs, Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Irony is, I was just watching an episode of Watch Mojo, and Pinky and the Brain were on it talking about it, and that's amazing.
So I've wanted to talk with Rob for a long time. As a matter of fact, when we first started the show back in September of 2020, I was like, you know what? I want to get Rob Paulson, not understanding how hard it would be actually to get Rob on the show, and not understanding the dynamics of how things work. And I was like, hey, we got a podcast. Sure, everybody's going to want to be on this. It's about sci-fi. And, it takes a while to establish credibility and who you are and the type of show you're running. And, for people to appreciate that we want our guests to come on, we want them to share a laugh with us. That's the whole intent. Our little byline, our little tagline for the show is all nerdy, no dirty. We're just a couple of geeks sitting in front of microphones talking to people who make cool stuff in the sci-fi world. And we want to ask them a few silly questions, a few serious questions. And at the end of the show, we run each of our guests through a little pseudo quiz. And it's usually something to do about what they've done in the film world, or it's 5 questions. They're all multiple choice. Sometimes they're a little more difficult. Sometimes it's 5 softballs, depending on what the topic is. But at the end of the end result is that if you get 3 of the questions correct, we send them this mug. It says, I gave to the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which is part of that book that I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
Which is, that's if you get 4 questions correct, we send you the mug and the book. And so in the book, Custodians of the Cosmos, it's all about a guy who wanted to join something quite similar to Star Trek.
Starfleet.
Yeah, Starfleet. I can't talk today. Excuse me. Starfleet. Star Trek.
You've done plenty of opening up, sharing, letting expressing. I can let you away with not saying Starfleet. There's many nerds that wouldn't. I'm not one of them. You're okay.
There you go.
You're fine.
Sweet. So, but
I had to hold back from bursting out laughing when you said about the widows of the red shirts. I was like, "You're professional, Andrew. You're professional."
Yeah. So, in the book, it like I said, it's something quite like Star Trek and Starfleet. We can't say that it is because litigious reasons, and we would rather not be sued. But it's not exactly the same. But it's the same premise. In the book, red shirts still die though. So,
Hey.
but one of the things is it's all about a guy who wanted to get into something like Starfleet. He didn't make it. He washed out, so he rejoined as a custodian to boldly clean up after those who had boldly just went. So that's the premise of the book. But there's something in it called the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund for those who do die while doing their service. Their families aren't left destitute. And so we started this Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund. We turned it into a real thing. It's actually in the book, it's a pseudo charity. In real life, it's a charity so we have this all online. You can buy one of these mugs. You can buy a t-shirt, stickers, phone case, whatever. 100% of the profits go to support a local charity here in the state of Michigan in the United States called Wish Upon a Teen. Wish Upon a Teen is actually the charity that came and supported my daughter while she was in the hospital. So it's my way of giving back to the charity.
Talk about life imitating art, man. What? No wonder you had to have your heart started 6 times. It takes, you had to have it grow just to house all the goodness in you, man. That's
trying.
Wow. Are you sure that you're not the reincarnation of Jesus?
Pretty sure. Some of the thoughts and things I said earlier this afternoon wouldn't have passed the Jesus test.
Hey,
so
I'm of the advocation of, if God didn't want us to swear, he wouldn't have gave us mouths.
Fair enough.
Because I rediscovered my faith. I'm okay, but I swear like a crack addict, man. I'd go. If you listen to any of my previous, you'll know I have no filter. But I don't believe that's that should be the precursor for not getting up there when you go. If you've done all the good stuff in your life, and you clearly have, my friend, you don't even need to worry about doing the self-sacrifice to try and get the automatic entry. You're cool. You're all right. Wouldn't matter to me if you said fuck a couple of times. You're in. Well, man, you got to treat it like a scale. Good outweighs the bad, and you're good. It's you're good so high that most people would think it was wheat. You're that high quality caliber. Well done, man. You're just
we're trying. So, but we've it's been kind of nice because some of the guests that we've had on the show have donated signed photos, and we've put those up for auction. We sold those. We've taken all the profits from those, donated them to Wish Upon a Teen, and basically anything I can do to put a couple bucks in Wish Upon a Teen's coffers, I'm all about it. Because here's the thing: while my daughter was in the rehabilitation hospital, she was depressed. She hadn't smiled in the longest time. They snuck in and redid her and redecorated her room as much as you can redecorate a hospital room, within reason. Yeah. There's no amount of money I can pay for the smile that she had on her face when she came back in. And to me, that means everything. The fact that they did that, I mean, they decorated this beautiful beach scene, with these cool little lights all over the room, and it was just really done well. And Nancy Sovereign, the chief executive officer of Wish Upon a Teen, is just an absolutely beautiful human being. And I wish, and by the way, if anybody's listening and wants to donate to them, please go to wishuponateen.org. There is a link there to donate via PayPal in the top right hand corner of their website, and you'll also find the link for the awesome Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund stuff. But you can find that on there, and you can buy that stuff, and that all goes to benefit them. But whatever I can do to help support them and prop them up a little bit, I'm all about. So,
man, my heart is absolutely bursting with pride in you, man. Like, you're such an amazing person.
Well, thank you.
That's honestly, your kids could not have a better role model. What if they tried? They could look at any. They could look at any religion. Can't find anybody as good as you. That's how well you're doing, my friend. That is how well you're doing.
I hope so.
So we have definitely overshot the runway with time, but I don't fucking care, because see, when you've got a guest that's
I'm having a great time. So
see if you've got a guest that's as strong and inspirational as you. Fuck it, let's just let it run. This is
You know,
the
I always say when I'm having a great conversation with somebody, and they're like, and I've had my guest stop at me and they're like, "Are you okay with time?" I'm like, "You can talk till the sun comes up. I'm doing great. Just go for it."
yeah.
I
mean, after
so,
done with the filming the podcast, I'm normally like getting everything sorted and going to bed when my head's buzzing with adrenaline anyway. So screw it, why not? So, but since we've covered a lot of heavy stuff, and we've covered a lot of it, and we've covered a lot of inspirational stuff, let's just cover some total geek stuff. Well, let's geek out. Right, favorite Marvel character. The favorite Marvel character, Andrew. Get your alliteration right.
I heard you right. I'm just thinking because, and I say I have to think because it's pretty much a toss up between two.
Right.
Depending on any given day, it's either Wolverine, who has been my favorite since I was a kid, or Deadpool, who's been one of my favorites since I was in my late teens, early 20s.
Dude, marry me. Deadpool is my favorite.
And the reason for that is
I'll go Mormon. I'll have as many wives as I want. You be my wife. But okay.
The reason for that is that they're both extremely sarcastic characters.
Yes.
And I am heavy with sarcasm. It's a secondary language to me.
Oh yeah.
And so some of the responses and things that they give are just absolutely brilliant. And it's just chef's kiss. Just can't get any better than on some of the stuff that they do. And so for me, it's always been those two. It has nothing to do with their powers. It has nothing to do with any of their abilities or things like that. It's been because of that. And then closely lined up right behind them for just because I think I've always thought he's really cool is a character that I don't think gets enough screen time. And he did have his own show for 2 seasons on Netflix, and that's Luke Cage.
Yes.
So I always thought Luke Cage was cool. So, and actually we got to interview Ogie Banks. Ogie is the voice actor from Spider-Man Unlimited where he was Power Man and Luke Cage. So we got to talk with him, and I got to tell him about my affinity for Luke Cage. That was kind of cool to hear him say "Sweet Christmas."
So, nice. I love Luke Cage as well. Everybody they gave the first season a bad rap and then said the second one was all right, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought,
great show.
I thought Mike Coulter was a brilliant casting choice. He done a tremendous job.
Absolutely. Yeah. If they ever bring Luke Cage to the big screen, if they don't have him, they have failed.
Yes,
honestly, they failed. He's such an amazing cast as that character. It would be hard to see somebody else as Luke Cage.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I'm hoping to see anybody else as Danny Rand and Iron Fist. God, what an awful casting.
In fairness, there's always so much you can do with that type of material. We just leave Danny Rand. We'll just keep Colleen Wing. We'll just make her the Iron Fist. She had much more personality, but then again, a block of wood had more personality sometimes than Danny Rand. That's another day.
I have seen wet moldy mops with more personality than that dude had.
Yeah, my wife could probably vouch for that. She's a cleaner. Right. So, favorite DC character, or are you strictly on the Marvel side?
No, I'm on. I like DC as well. That's an easy one. It's Batman for me.
Nice.
And again, it's the sarcasm, the dark and broody, and mainly though, I'm a Batman fan because of Kevin Conroy, the voice acting of Kevin Conroy.
Yes. You're a massive Batman 90s fan?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the animated series.
Yes.
We talked about that with Rob Paulson in the Rob Paulson interview. We were talking about that because he's friends with Mark Hamill, and which took me a couple minutes to get past because I'm like Mark Hamill. Anyway, but we were talking about that there, for a Batman fan, for the most part, especially if you're in the age range of about 30 to early 40s.
Yep.
It doesn't get any better than Kevin Conroy.
No.
I liked Michael Keaton. I like Christian Bale. I like to forget that George Clooney ever put on the suit.
So did George Clooney. He wants to forget that too.
Yeah, exactly. I actually liked Val Kilmer as Batman. I didn't think he did a bad job.
I thought it was all right. Yeah.
I mean, he was.
The only problem was there wasn't. He was just constantly in Batman mode.
Yeah,
but his Batman mode was good.
Yeah, but he was also Batman as Bruce Wayne. There wasn't a definite separation of character there. I always say that he was serviceable. He was a serviceable Batman.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it was still hard for me because I wanted to hear. There's the suit, but I wanted to hear Kevin Conroy's voice. You know, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, they managed to get him live action in the Arrowverse when they did the Crisis on was it Infinite Earths? I think it was.
Yeah.
They finally got Kevin Conroy in live action Batman. So
yeah,
at least he finally got his moment in the sun or in the cave.
Either way,
yeah. Right.
Either way.
Right. Favorite Star Wars character?
Han Solo.
Nice.
My oldest son's name is Parker. My middle son's name is Nolan. Nolan's middle name is Harrison.
Nice.
Harrison Ford is my all-time favorite actor. I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. I've loved just about everything Harrison Ford has ever put on film. And
I say just about what Indiana Jones 4.
Actually, I don't mind it up until the ending. I when it got all aliensy, didn't really care for
even Shia LaBeouf swinging with CGI monkeys.
If you blink aggressively during that part, it's really not bad.
But you just close your eyes and picture someone else. Just close your eyes.
Just close your eyes. Are we done yet? Okay, we're good. We can watch again.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there are definitely things about Indiana Jones 4 that are troublesome to me.
Looking in the fridge.
Yep, absolutely. We talked about that in one of our live shows. You know, problems, finding the problem in the science problems inside of sci-fi movies. And for me, that was one of the issues. Two of the issues that I mentioned was number one, hiding in the fridge during a nuclear fallout. He'd have been dead. Number two was the ants that ate the man. That's not how those ants actually do it. It's just done for cinematic effect.
Yep.
So, but anyway, and I didn't even touch the Shia LaBeouf swinging from the vines with the monkeys things. I left that alone. I figured most people already knew that was a bunch of rubbish.
Oh yeah.
So, but no, actually, I don't mind that movie. I'll never watch 6 Days, 7 Nights again. Watch that once. I don't feel the need to go play in traffic again. No. But
oh man, I just love that analogy there. Oh, brilliant. So we've covered Marvel, we've covered DC, we've covered Star Wars. So we've got to go to Star Trek. You wanting me to break into subgenres with the shows, or are you?
I'm actually not a huge Star Trek fan. I'm actually not a huge Trek fan. I actually
you have the red shirt mug. I know it's for the best cause imaginable, but dude.
No, so I've actually worked pretty hard at getting to know Star Trek a little more, getting involved with a little more. I actually enjoy, and most people that I know who are Trek fans find this to be sacrilegious, but I actually like the J.J. Abrams versions of Star Trek. I like J.J. Trek, which is because it's probably closer to Star Wars than Star Trek.
I do like it as well, and I am a Trek fan. I do like it.
Yeah,
I think Into Darkness was there was always Wrath of Khan ripoffs, but I think Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan was a good casting choice, even though he's no Ricardo Montalban. But that's
who is
exactly not even Ricardo Montalban is Ricardo Montalban anymore. But,
exactly.
So obviously there were some issues. The lens flares were. See if I wanted to have an epileptic fit, I'd go back to watch Raw again. Well, it was, and overall, good casting choices. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Carl Urban as McCoy was something I was not expecting, but was so happy that it happened.
He's a brilliant choice as Bones.
He is fantastic.
Oh God, yeah, just awesome.
Yeah,
actually, I do enjoy speaking of Ricardo Montalban, I do enjoy Wrath of Khan. That's the one Star Trek movie I owned before the JJ Trek came out.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed Wrath of Khan. I always thought that movie was actually, to me, was the standout of all the Star Trek movies. I liked 2. I liked 3. You know, Search for Spock. I had a problem when they started, you know, traveling through time for whales, and that's where they lost me. So, and that's kind of where I dipped back out of Star Trek again.
Yeah, I can understand why. It's still Star Trek 4 still a fun ride. It's definitely better than 5. Never watched 5. That was nicknamed the death of a franchise. Well, and yeah, it was.
But we did interview Robin Curtis, who was Lieutenant Saavik from episode 3. So
oh, nice.
So yeah, she's talk about an absolute sweetheart. Holy cow. Robin Curtis is amazing.
Oh man, that's brilliant. That's fantastic.
Oh, and Jeremy Roberts, who was Lieutenant Commander Valtain from the 6th, The Undiscovered Country.
Yeah. Oh man. So as long as we're talking Trek and I'm telling you, I'm name dropping people we've interviewed. Oh, you might as well keep going. Please keep going.
The most recent one is we interviewed Armin Shimmerman, who was Quark in Deep Space Nine. So
also the principal in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Exactly, Principal Snyder.
Oh, I love Armin Shimmerman. Well, I think he's such comedic foil. He's so good. Like his chemistry with Renee Auberjonois, may he rest in peace, from Deep Space Nine, was just comic timing. Man, such a great choice as a Ferengi as well. He just oozed that kind of weird charisma that you were like, you really should hate this guy, but you can't hate him. And you don't want to hate him. And it was the same deal with Buffy. You're like, you're a prick, but you're our prick, and we like you.
Right.
And then you get eaten. And that was the funniest way to die. Absolutely love that, man.
Yeah, it's a great interview. We had such a great time with him. And I mean, here's the thing a lot of people don't know about Armin is that he's an exceedingly intelligent man. He is well schooled. He's a Shakespearean something.
Actor.
Well, he's a Shakespearean actor, but he's also when somebody goes to school for a long time and studies one topic, he's an expert basically in Shakespeare. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I can't remember
kind of like a historian. Scholar. Yeah,
scholar. That's the word I was looking for.
Definitely.
I knew it'd come up sooner or later. But he's a Shakespearean scholar. Just wow.
That's what a lot of people seem to forget about Star Trek. They say, "Oh, it's just it's sci-fi." It's just that they are highly trained, skilled Shakespearean actors. They didn't F around when it came to casting, man. Like you look at some of they're etched in folklore now. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But see if you ever get Robert Picardo on, who played the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager. For the love of God, do anything you can to get me on, even just to go, hi. Just in any way. I would just love to just have a soundbite of me just going, please state the nature of the medical emergency. And then just see his face go, oh God, they're here.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Right. So you're not the biggest Star Trek fan, but did you like Galaxy Quest?
Love Galaxy Quest.
How can you not love Galaxy Quest? Well, I mean,
you can't. I don't think you can't like Galaxy Quest. It's just
Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman,
historical documents.
Yes, definitely. A very clever deception indeed. A very clever deception. Oh,
it's
man.
A good show.
Man, I could talk to you all night. This is brilliant. But probably majority of my listeners are probably going, oh fuck, here we go. Well, we knew he was bad. We didn't realize he was this bad. Oh, this is me toning it down, my friends. What? Oh man. I knew we would get on like a house on fire. We are. It's just the house is burned down. We're in the second house now. We're in the third house. Well, let's just burn down the entire street. That's how well we're getting on. Not that I encourage arson in the real world.
No.
Just in podcast world.
That'd be bad.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and we also spoke off air just before we came on, but you're also a hockey fan.
I am a very big hockey fan.
Yes.
Love the Detroit Red Wings. I'll watch just about any hockey unless it's the Colorado Avalanche or the Pittsburgh Penguins. They suck, and may they burn in hell. But other than that, they're great.
In fairness, well, the only thing I like about that is the fact that it's Penguin. I like Penguins, not the Pittsburgh Penguins. I like the actual.
No. I get what you're saying. I've tried to look past that and be like, oh yeah, but I hate you, so no.
Yeah. You're like, no, just replace your mascot and keep the Penguins safe.
So
yeah, but I love Penguins. But I just think they're awesome.
Yeah. So I've been a hockey fan for a long time, since I was a teenager. Got into hockey in the mid '90s when I started understanding that what that little black thing racing across the sheet of white ice was, and why people were slamming into each other on the ice. And I didn't understand the pace of the game and what was going on. But once you get an understanding for what's going on the ice, it becomes less chaotic looking, and it starts to make sense. And you go, oh, okay, well, this is what this guy's trying to do, and that's what that guy's trying to do. And it's not just guys slamming into each other with sticks and sharp knives on their feet. It's there's something artistic about what they're doing on the ice. There's a level of artistry with what they're doing, and it's a physically elegant game.
Yeah, and when it's graceful, it's graceful. But when it gets ugly, it's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's one of the things that like everybody talks about, like the football hooligans over in like the UK and stuff like that. Well, and yes, football hooligans. Well, in hockey, guys are blethering the crap out of each other, and it's still such a fun, friendly, family atmosphere. It was it's the most surreal experience in the world. You're like, way, these guys are knocking lumps at each other. Way. Well, love you, son. Love you too, Dad.
Exactly. The thing is too, is that on the ice, when guys get into these fights, sometimes they do it because, well, they really dislike the other guy, and they want to pound him into the ice.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's because that's what they feel their job is to help lift the spirits of the team. I'm gonna protect my player, or I'm going to lift the spirits by getting into a fight and so that's like, hey, you want to go? Yeah, let's go. And it's not even, they're not fighting for a reason other than just to try and spruce their team up, try and give them some pep.
Yeah. Well, unless you were a part of the Trashers.
Right.
I remember I just recently watched that documentary on Netflix, and I was like, holy hell, that was basically them just taking like the wrestling and hockey, just going, right, let's just put these two together. Well, and it was just, even some of this stuff that I was watching, I'm like, these guys would do well in Glasgow. I think they would survive in our league, but only just. But yeah, oh man, I've just been loving nerding out with you. And I'll ask another nerd question before we move on to the final question of the show.
Okay.
Do you like Red Dwarf?
Not really. I'm not, but I only say that because I've never really watched a ton of it. I haven't had enough to form a true opinion. Other than just the majority of my frame of context for that show is based off the memes that are thrust into our group. And so that's probably not a fair place to make a decision from. So I can't say yes, I can't say no, but I will just say at this point, not really, and only because I haven't watched enough of it to say.
I would advise check it out, because it is good. I mean, the t-shirt I'm wearing is a Red Dwarf kind of parody, but you wouldn't get it.
Okay.
So you wouldn't get it, so I can't show it. But I probably should have worn my other t-shirt. It's a red shirt that's already like dead in the ground, and there's a stormtrooper with a fired gun, and it says stormtrooper says, "I missed." The red shirt says, "I died anyway."
Exactly.
But every time I wear that shirt, someone goes, "Yeah."
Exactly, they get it.
Even if they don't even watch Star Wars or Star Trek, they're still like,
I
understood that reference.
No, it's such a part of pop culture now that everybody gets it.
Yeah, definitely.
Pop culture addicts. Anyway, so
nice plug, my friend. Nice plug.
I try.
Well, before we do get into the final, right? Something I always do for I've been doing for the guests recently is I'm letting them punt everything that they have to our audience. So I let you go over. The floor is yours, Tim. Sell, baby, sell.
All right. So if you like stories of everyday people overcoming life obstacles and challenges and issues, please check out Focused on Forward. It's available on every major podcast destination. Wherever you get your podcast from, you'll find Focused on Forward. If you'd like to talk with us, please feel free to check us out on Twitter at podcastfof. There's also an Instagram page that I don't use very often. There's a Facebook page that I don't use very often. The best place to get a hold of me, if you want to talk to me, is on Twitter at podcastfof. The same applies for funny sci-fi. Funny science fiction is available. Audio is everywhere. We have a YouTube channel, so all these interviews are on video, so you can watch them all. You can watch your favorite stars of all these different shows and things that we've had an opportunity to, all these people that we've had an opportunity to talk to. You can see it on video, and you can also listen to it as well. Again, give us a follow on Twitter at funny sci-fi is the handle, and that's honestly the best place to check that out. And then my newest show that we're only, let's see, Monday will be episode 11. We're only 11 episodes deep on this one. Is called Pop Culture Addicts, because I had people that I wanted to talk to that I couldn't find a way to kind of like pigeonhole and wedge into the funny sci-fi. And so there's many things about Pop Culture Addicts that are very similar to funny science fiction, but it is a different show. And we're 11 shows deep into that, and that show we talk to people who all around the pop culture world. I've had an opportunity to talk to Stephen Perkins, the drummer from Jane's Addiction, which I'm a huge Jane's Addiction fan. Our very first episode out the gate was with Carol Baskin from Tiger King. And we've had an opportunity. Our newest episode right now, the one that's out right now, is with the bass player named Leland Sklar, who, even if you haven't heard of Leland Sklar, you've heard Leland Sklar. He was Phil Collins' touring and session bass player for years. So if you hear like In the Air Tonight or Sussudio, that's Leland Sklar on bass. And he's an amazing guy with some really cool stories about life and being on the road and some of the concerts with Phil. And he was also with Toto and James Taylor and The Section during the 70s, and yeah, just really cool dude. But we've got some really neat interviews coming up on Pop Culture Addicts, and yeah, it's a good time. And so that one is at PCA Pod Show on Twitter, at PCA Pod Show, and you can check us out there. We're still growing. That one is also a video podcast, so all these interviews are on video, and then you can check them out on your audio podcast providers as well.
Everybody listening to my show on audio, when he mentions some of these things, my jaw hit the floor, bounce back up, and then hit the floor again.
I've had a good run here, a little bit of luck with some of the folks that we've been able to talk to on the show.
Yeah, I think considering everything that you've went through up to this point, every bit of luck and every bit of good grace that comes your way is more than time served. You definitely deserve it. So,
thank you.
So you probably already answered this question while we were talking, but I'll ask it again because I ask all my guests this question to round off. If you could give one person one piece of advice and they were struggling with mental health issues at this precise moment in time, what would that piece of advice be and why?
Don't hesitate. Go talk to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your best friend twice removed. It doesn't matter. The biggest thing when it comes to mental health is addressing it. Because especially for any of the men that are listening, a lot of us men are taught that we can just handle it. We're taught to not show emotion. We're taught to, keep these things bottled up, and keeping those things bottled up is the single most unhealthy thing that you can do for yourself mentally and emotionally, because you're not taking care of yourself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of the ones that you love who are around you. So my constant plea to anybody whenever I talk about mental health is, I don't care who you talk to. I prefer that it's a counselor. But to get yourself started down the chain or the stream or whatever you want to call it of positive mental health, go talk to somebody. Anybody, please.
Brilliant advice. All right. Once again, simplest explanation. It's the correct one. So now we come to Minnesota's favorite segment. It is Ask Andrew Anything. Now, for all our listeners, after me grilling the guest for, let's just say, a very long time for this one, this is going to be another feature-length episode. The guest now gets to turn the tables on me, and he can ask me anything. It could be something as mundane as what's your favorite color, to something as wacky as who would win the fight between artificially intelligenced lamp and a broken vase. So, Tim, do you have a question for this mental ginger?
I'll be honest with you, I forgot I was supposed to do this at the end, and I should have been thinking about one. I've been really enjoying our conversation, and this has been the farthest thing from my mind.
I was going to say, I was going to take it as a compliment, so I'm quite glad that it was phrased as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it was definitely a compliment. No, you've been. This has been a very enjoyable, honestly, enjoyable conversation.
Yeah, Tim, I've had an absolute blast, man. I've had a blast. It's been so much fun. But
I do have a question for you, though, now that I'm thinking about this.
Right.
All right, so here it goes. So one of my guests goes by the stage name of Angus McGog. He's he does oh goodness, Ren fairs, and he was in the band Pictus, and so not was in the band. He is in the band Pictus. He's one of the drummers. So there's two drummers and a bagpiper. It's pretty cool music, actually, and I've never thought I would be one to listen to bagpipe music, but all of a sudden I'm going, well, this is pretty cool. Anyway,
one of my best friends
but
one of my best friends is a bagpiper, and he's absolutely amazing. He knows who he is, James McKenna. Anyway, fire away.
Yeah, I found out there's a difference between bad bagpiping and good bagpiping, and there's a noticeable difference.
There really is.
So I built you a clock to tell you the time. Anyway, so he talked in there about how, because he speaks when he's in character, he has a Scottish accent. And now we talked about the difference between his Scottish accent and the accent of, say, Mike Myers when he does Shrek, or if you ever watch the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Or Austin Powers.
Exactly. Or Austin Powers, and with, Fat Bastard and all that. So here's the question for you.
Right.
Did you ever take offense to those versions of characters, or did you see them as caricatures?
I did not take offense to them. I actually was quite proud, well, ever so slightly, until I realized that Mike Myers' Austin Powers Scottish accent was the same as his Wayne's World 2 The Leprechaun accent. And I was like, dude, Leprechaun, Irish, Scottish, not that. That was the only time. That was the only time I had a slight problem with it. I was like, "There's two different accents there, you dick." Well, and clearly you know this because you are a talented actor.
Actually, it's the same. It's the same accent that he's used from "So I Married an Axe Murderer" and Shrek, and he used it on Saturday Night Live and a couple other things.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Not at all. But sometimes I find these things quite funny because there was a survey that was done a couple of years ago, and they surveyed some people in America. I'm not sure which people, but they interviewed people in America about what they associated Scots to be like. And they basically said they thought we were groundskeeper Willie for The Simpsons. Yep. They didn't think that we had internet. They thought that we barely had running water. They thought we all wore kilts and we're all ginger, and we all hated everybody. Well, where it's not true. We only hate the English.
Fair enough.
Only kidding. Everybody hates the English.
One of my buddies, his family is of Scottish descent, and so I'm Irish, and we pick on each other back and forth.
Yeah.
And whenever I seem to have gotten the higher ground on things, he'll look at me and say, "Don't give me that just because your people figured out how to swim and leave our island."
I mean, oh, that's fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant.
So,
but now, anytime I see like somebody doing like a Scottish accent that's not Scottish, I more just want to try and figure out where they picked it up from specifically.
right.
But because it's the same like an American accent. What we all like in Scotland like have, if we do impressions of American accents, it's a very kind of the generic American accent. A lot of them don't realize there's like a difference between a Texan accent and a New York accent, or like a Michigan accent, and like a Florida accent. So there's it's those little things. So I'm like, I try and pick out if they were maybe living in picked up from something Glasgow or something from like Edinburgh or Fife, because there's the different inflections and different tones.
Sure.
So I just more find it fascinating. And then if I hear somebody that's got a really, really good Scottish accent, you can't help but applaud them. Like to relate to sci-fi again, big Stargate fan. But in Stargate Atlantis, they had Carson Beckett, who is Canadian, who played the Scot, and everybody in Scotland thought he was Scottish.
Oh wow, yeah.
To one point, we actually did. It was one of the conventions. And he was talking about a time that he came over to Scotland, and he was just talking away to the crowd, and they were doing a bit of an interview, and he looked at some of the guys in the crowd, and he could just see some of them muttering, "Where's this fucking accent, mate?" So yeah. Scottish
kind of three for that one.
Yeah. So Scottish is quite a hard accent to muster. And as I always say to people, the brigadoon of us, like the Highland Celts, and is Nessie real? Do the haggis really live in the Highlands and have 3 legs? All that kind of stuff. It sells. So brigadoon sells. We don't care. And we're perfectly fine. The funniest one that I ever had was when I went to Las Vegas with my family. Me and my brother were getting a taxi, and the guy asked us where we were from. We're like, out of Scotland, just stay outside of Glasgow. It's like, oh man, Glasgow, I heard that's a really, really violent city, full of violence and fighting. And this was a African American man who had very, very big muscles, and we thought that we were going to die. So we just instantly went.
It's horrible.
So we just instantly went, too fucking right, mate. I've been in many a fight in my time, but I've had my ass kicked more times than I can count. But we were like, we don't want to die, because we'd had another experience with another cabbie in Vegas, and he was Texan, and he was going around saying in the cab with us, "Yeah, we're going to bomb everybody from the Mormons to the Muslims." And we're like, we were like, "You don't have a chance to carry a gun, do you?" "Yeah, every cabbie carries a gun." So let's out here. We had no clue where we were. We just wanted out.
Yeah. Most Americans are afraid of Texas, so let's be honest.
I actually interviewed a guy from Texas, and he was an absolute delight. I have to say, he was such a lovely guy.
You can't judge them all based on the most outspoken of them, but we make the joke in the United States. I don't know if it's a worldwide thing, but we have Florida man. The Florida man is the one who does all the stupid things, and then there's Texas man, who does the even stupider things, and it's usually gun related. So
Yeah. I was actually in Florida on my honeymoon when the shooting happened in the gay nightclub.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was actually
in
Florida.
Orlando.
Yeah. I was on a honeymoon there.
Oh wow.
So at first my wife was like, right, before we found out it was a gay nightclub that it happened. My wife was like, should we message your mum and dad, let them know we're fine? I was like, I'm not sure. And then when we heard it was that, I said, well, we can leave it, because I don't think the mum and dad will expect me and my new wife to be at an Orlando gay bar on our honeymoon.
Right.
But when we got back, phone, obviously jet lagged and phoning people, letting them know we're safe, and phoned my older brother, and he went, "Andrew, thank God, I heard about the gay shooting. Glad to hear you're okay." Head hit hands. I was like, that was a brilliant conversation. Bye, Daniel. I love my brother to death, but he's had a bet on me being gay since I was 8. So
Well, there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still holding on to that bet. He thinks my wife and 2 kids are just my beard.
Just for show. Yeah.
Yeah, just for sure. Yeah, nothing to do with the fact that, I had 2 kids that looked just like me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a kind of a roundabout answer and a couple of examples in between. But yeah, it just shows how
That's
comfortable.
okay.
Just shows how comfortable I am around you, Tim. Well, it just shows how this
Good times.
connection has been really strong. I felt it one with the force with you.
Absolutely.
And wishing nothing but success with your podcast. Trust me, now
Likewise.
Now I know they're on YouTube. Well, I will be subscribing and I will be I'll be binging them in my work to get me through the day. Well, I'm so looking forward to seeing these and listening to them.
And hey, like I said, you're up to 6 followers now, so you're doing great.
Yeah. Who knows?
I'm number 6.
I might make double digits one day. I'm aiming for double digit.
I'm going to share this with my podcast host from PCA. They will absolutely love this show. So there's 2 more. So you'll be up. I mean, you're up to 8 by the end of this show. So you're doing great.
If I can get to double digits by 2023, I'll think I've made it. I might.
You're the big time.
Yeah. If I get to double digits, I'll make this known to my followers. If I get to double digits of followers, I will stop saying my faithful followers. So there's the challenge. If you don't like that intro, there's your gauntlet. But it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, buddy.
Likewise.
Wishing you nothing but success. You're already getting a lot of success, but I just want you to have more. Because you've earned it. You've more than earned it.
Oh, thank you very much.
So until next time, my 6 faithful followers. It's going to take some while to get used to that. I have been Andrew Durning. This has been literally if any aliens are listening, this is the source for our last hope of humanity, Tim Beisiegel. So if you're going to abduct anybody, make sure you get him. He's the good one. Take him to Mars and he can recolonize Mars and give us a fighting chance. So until next time, take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.